Happy Friday. I'm here to today to talk about a big mindset issue that I see a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. And a lot of them don't know they struggle with it. But it's not being coachable. Quite honestly, this is probably the biggest pitfall I see people make. And there are good reasons for it. I understand why people aren't always great at being coachable. But if you want to succeed, if you want to build a business that's going to succeed over the long term and can be scalable and all of those things, you're going to have to accept coaching. And you're going to have to accept coaching in a lot of different places. And I want to talk about that today and kind of address it and deal with some misnomers, et cetera. But first, if you don't know me, I'm Bobby Klink. I'm the lawyer and online entrepreneur behind Your Online Genius. I take a lot of coaching myself, so I actually know what I'm talking about here. But I'm also someone who struggled with it for a while. So I can, I think, hopefully help you get through issues you have, because a lot of us have issues with taking coaching, with accepting it, et cetera. So I want to start with the basics here about why you need to take coaching. And I'm going to use an analogy because I like analogies rather than just saying things exactly. So the analogy I want to use is, if you follow football, and maybe you don't follow football, but if you do, you'll get this. Even at the NFL level, where the people who are like at the top of their game, I'm talking about the top wide receiver in the game, the top running back in the game. Guess what? They have coaches. They have coaches who are specific to their area. So they will have a wide receivers coach. And this wide receivers coach is someone who wasn't nearly as good as these pros are in their heyday. But it doesn't matter. That coach is able to see things that the person, this professional, can't see themselves. And so that's why even at those levels with ultra professionals, they are taking coaching. And they're often taking coaching from people. If you looked at it and you said, well, why are they listening to that person? That person doesn't know what they're talking about. I mean, you'll actually, in a lot of places at the pro level of football and even in the college level, you'll have people who didn't even play the position coaching it up because they can do that. And so I use that analogy to help get over what is probably like the biggest block people have when it comes to coaching. It's, what does that person have to teach me? They're not as good as me. They don't know this area as me. They don't know my business. They don't know my profession. They don't know my niche. Come up with they don't a million different ways, but it's all the same thing. It's all this block of I'm better than them. I'm not humble enough to accept that other people might help. Let me give you another analogy that maybe will, if you're not a football fan, maybe this one will break through for you. I don't know about you, but I consider myself a pretty good writer. I write briefs, I write all that stuff for the legal world, and I'm pretty good at it. And what I'll tell you is, even though I'm good, I can take comments from other people who, when you looked at it, if you compared something they wrote versus something I wrote, any objective person would say, I write better than they do. But guess what? They can edit my work better than I can. They can see the flaws in my work that I can't see because I'm too close to it. Well, the same thing is happening with you in your business. You are too close to everything. And it's a reality. And I'm not saying that because you're bad or anything. I'm too close to my business. Literally, I was just at a mastermind retreat. I presented the results of my last launch, which was a success. I hit my numbers and a lot of things. And I was thinking what I wanted was advice on how to tweak that particular way of launching to make it better. But the people there could see what I couldn't, which was maybe I could tweak the way I was launching entirely and get better results, because maybe the way I was launching actually wasn't optimal. But I couldn't see that, right? Because I was too close. I was too connected. I was too invested in what I was already doing. Well, I'll just tell you, I have scrapped the old launch plan. So, if you're someone who kind of followed me through my last launch of the template library, you're going to see a completely different launch this time around. You'll look at it and say, wait a minute, I thought he was going to rinse and repeat and do the same thing multiple times this year. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to end up doing completely different thing, a completely different strategy altogether, because those folks could see things in my business that I couldn't. And so I give that to you as an example of being coachable. And you'll see it a lot if you're in a mastermind group. And often it's easy to take coaching from people in a mastermind group because you're all you think, okay, we're all at a similar level. I've taken coaching from people who are making a quarter of what I'm making in the business, and they'll see things that I can't see. And a lot of the pivotal decisions I've made in my business were taking coaching, even not from a professional coach, and some from people who are on the same level, some from others. I mean, a lot of people have heard me tell a lot of stories about this. And I think this is maybe one of my superpowers. But for example, last summer, so through 2018, through the summer, I was focused on selling a membership site, not legal templates. Yes, there were templates involved, but I was selling a membership, et cetera. And one of my friends that I met through Amy Porterfield's B School experience, Jillian Bowen, who is now my content strategist and all of this, but she and I were talking and she said, "You're making it way too complicated. You should be selling legal templates." And I said, "Oh, come on." But, a lot of people would have shut down and said, "Okay, no, I'm not going to listen to you." I said, "You know what? I'm going to take this, I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to see." And she was right. I looked at my numbers, and I've told this story so many times. It's a great example of kind of the 80-20 principle at work, but even more extreme. I was spending 95% of my revenue probably, or my ad spend, my time, et cetera, promoting the membership site. And that was generating 30% of my revenue. I was spending about 5% of my time, effort, marketing dollars, et cetera, just on templates in the background. And they were 65% of my revenue. So when you looked at that, I said, okay. And so I took the coaching and I shifted and I pivoted. And again, it's an example of being willing and being open to considering things. Now, it doesn't mean that you're always going to take the advice you get. Sometimes you're going to get advice. You're going to consider it. If you're open to it, you're going to look at it. Maybe you're going to analyze it. And then you're going to say, no, I'm not going to apply that. And it could be because you know things that someone doesn't. For example, in my business, people are always trying to get me to do what's called a self-liquidating offer, an SLO. That is, like, after someone signs up for a freebie, they want me to put something in, a low price offer that people can buy right then to pay for the ads cost. And this is a popular way of doing things in the online marketing world. And a lot of people are very successful at it. And people will suggest this to me, and I will hear them out and listen to them. And often, depending on the relationship, I may not say anything, but I don't actually implement. The reason why is because I've tried it 18 different ways and it's never worked. So I have that piece of information that maybe they don't. And I've worked with a bunch of different people who've tried SLOs to help me come up with them. I've tried different pricing. I've tried everything. It just doesn't work. So I understand in my business, that's something that won't work. So again, that's an example. You don't always implement what they say, but you're open to it and you consider it. And even when someone suggests an SLO to me, I don't immediately say no. I hear them out. I listen to what they're thinking. And then I think through, well, is this different? Is maybe something about what they're proposing different than what hasn't worked for me in the past? Because maybe there is something, maybe there's some way to do it. And so that's the kind of openness that you need to bring to your business. And you need to bring that general sense. And maybe you're sitting there right there and saying, hey, I'm open. I don't do this. There's a phrase that you should be listening for. If you're using this phrase when someone is talking to you, advising you, giving you suggestions, et cetera, it's a sign that you're not being open to coaching. That phrase is, yeah, but. If someone suggests something to you and your response is, yeah, but, what you're doing is shutting down. You're saying, I'm not going to listen to your coaching because I know better than you. That's what that phrase means. It's a nice way of saying it. You're not being rude about it necessarily, but you're shutting them down. Instead, you ought to say, that's interesting. Tell me more. And then listen to them and say, well, here's what I'm thinking. Maybe you can help me. And be open in that way rather than coming at it with a but. When you come at it with a but in your answer, you're basically going to shut people down because they're going to be like, this person's not listening to me. I don't think they care about what I'm saying. And guess what? They're going to quit giving you advice. And maybe the golden nugget that you needed was the next thing they were going to say. But because you said, yeah, but, you never heard it. So banish yeah, but from your vocabulary. I didn't realize I was doing this, but this was something I learned through masterminding. And it was a piece of advice someone, the mastermind leader gave out. And I said, okay. And I started listening and found myself saying that or thinking that. And it's become a trigger. When that happens, I say, oh, stop it. Stop it, Bobby. Don't do that. Be open. Don't be a yeah, but. And so that's kind of a trigger in your mind. But the broader point is simply be open to being coached, to being advised, to getting things from other people, regardless of who they are, regardless of if you think they may or may not, know things. Trust me, it's important. And I will tell you, this was one of the big shifts I made last year in 2018. In 2017, I thought I was smarter than everybody. I thought I knew this stuff. I thought I didn't need to take coaching. And guess what? I had no business. Meaning my business was pretty much non-existent. Money out, no money in. Last year, I changed my perspective and said, you know what? I'm going to be humble and I'm going to be coachable. That shift in mindset, as much as everything else, as much as all the other things I did and investing in myself and all that, was hugely important, right? I mean, if I hadn't had that mindset shift, I wouldn't have done the other things that I did. I wouldn't have taken the courses and the programs that were pivotal for me having success. I wouldn't have pivoted when people said things and gave me advice. I would not have done those things because I would have continued believing I knew better than them. So my call to action for you today is, make sure that you are open and that you're coachable and that you're taking guidance. It's not always going to be right, but take it in, think it through, consider the fact that maybe they know better than you because they're not invested already. And if you go through all the traps and you're like, no, their advice isn't good, and it really isn't, and it's not just you being resistant, you don't have to take it. But take the time to consider it and be coachable. If you do that, you are going to be much better off. So that's my call to action for you generally today. But I've got two specific calls to action for you if you're curious. Number one, I mentioned earlier that part of me being coachable is I have completely scrapped what I did in the past for my launch last time. I'm doing a completely different launch this time. And if you'd like to just see what it is, regardless of whether you want to buy or not, you can join my wait list and then you'll kind of see the funnel, the whole thing. You can do that by going to youronlinegenius.com/library. That is, already forwarding to my wait list. So you can sign up for the wait list and you'll see what I'm doing this time. And if you followed me the last time around, you'll say, wow, this is completely different. But it's a way for you to just kind of see what I'm doing and see how I'm evolving from coaching. So that's one thing. But more importantly, if you're interested in being around a bunch of other entrepreneurs who are coachable, who are trying to help each other out, who are trying to coach each other, give advice, etc., join my free community. It's the Online Genius community here on Facebook. In that group, we talk about the legal stuff, but we also talk about the marketing stuff. We talk about the various things, that I'm doing, that other people are doing, what's working, what's not working. And it's a great place to meet a lot of other really great entrepreneurs. You can do that, again, absolutely free. Go to youronlinegenius.com/community. And the link is also in the description. That's all I got for now. I'll be back next week. Again, I'm going to try to do noon Eastern time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday going forward for at least the next couple of months. So I hope you'll join me and I will talk to you later. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But I'm always reachable here. And then in that group, the community is the best place. We have active communications. I'm in there, checking for questions. If people are asking, I respond and we get answers and we have good discussion. So I'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend.